Welcome back to the updated, revised, and hopefully more accurate version of my playoff predictions. In this video, I'm also going to cover some of these confusing playoff scenarios for the 10 plus teams fighting for just 2 wildcard spots that are available right now. So yeah, about my first version of these predictions. Go ahead and just throw those out, they're trash. I came up with the idea in the same week that I tried to make some overly bold predictions for my weekly pick'em video, and that wasn't a great idea because those losses really impacted the overall standing and playoff seeding. This week, I played it safe with my week 15 pick'em video and I made the smart picks instead of reaching for some exciting upsets. Hopefully this leads to a more accurate representation of the playoffs, but I'm sure that this week will be another crazy week of football and the unthinkable will happen, and I'll be back here redoing these picks again next week. In this version, I'm only going to do one Super Bowl prediction, and it's going to be how I see it playing out based on this seeding. If you want to see the other 2 scenarios, including my conspiracy theory scenario, go watch the last version of this video, but go ahead and skip to the end because you don't want to see how ugly those picks got. However, I do appreciate you guys helping me crush the goal in the first version of this video, despite the predictions being irrelevant after 1 week. I gotta ask for your help once again. Help me hit 500 likes on this one, and YouTube will stop showing the other version and it will show this one more, so people can stop commenting how much of an idiot I am and so on and so forth. With that said, let's jump into these, starting with the AFC East. The Patriots were the only Week 14 upset that I actually hit on, and I guess you can say I picked them to be an upset again this week by the Steelers. I just think that because the Patriots have had their numbers so consistently in the past, and then this is a slightly weaker version of the Patriots that we've seen recently, I think that the desperate Steelers can capitalize. The only reason I want to focus on this game in particular is because this one game is likely to be the difference in the Patriots getting the number 2 or the number 3 seed, because I don't see any other opportunities for the Patriots to catch any more losses on their schedule. I've got the Dolphins just missing out on the playoffs. There's 5 teams legitimately fighting for that final wild card spot, and I think that you're going to have to win 10 games to get it. So if the Dolphins can beat the Vikings this week, take care of business against the Jaguars next week, and then the Bills on the road in week 17, which is not a gimme game for them, then that final spot is theirs and the Miami Miracle will live on forever. Things in the AFC North are a little more confusing than they thought they would be at the midway point of this season. For the Steelers, they really need to focus on getting over this Patriots hurdle that's plagued them in the past, because if they lose to the Patriots again and they've got the Saints in week 16, that could leave them 8-7-1, which is probably not going to cut it. The Ravens need to take care of business this week against the Bucks. In week 16, they have the Chargers, who are likely already locked into that 5th seed regardless of what happens for the rest of the season, so there's a chance for them to steal a win there. And in week 17, they have the Browns, who played them really tight earlier in the season, but that was before the Lamar Jackson era, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, and assuming the Steelers don't run the table, they basically control their own destiny to win the division. I think it's more likely that both the Steelers and Ravens go 2-1 down the stretch here, and that half-game lead gives the division to the Steelers. In the AFC West, this is where the biggest mistake in last week's version of this took place. I picked the Ravens in the upset over the Chiefs, and that opened the door for the Chargers to come in and steal the division. But after Patrick Mahomes no-look passed his way to a victory, the AFC West belongs to the Chiefs because they would need to lose the final 3 games for the Chargers to overtake them. So pencil in the Chiefs for the number 1 seed if they beat the Chargers on Thursday Night Football, and the Chargers in at the number 5 seed since division winners take up the top 4 seeds in the NFL playoffs. The Broncos losing to the 49ers was not only embarrassing, but also likely a season ender. First of all, the Broncos need to win out, which is doable, especially if the Chargers rest their starters for week 17. In week 15, Broncos fans need to be rooting for the Buccaneers to beat the Ravens, the Cowboys to beat the Colts, and the Giants to beat the Titans. Right now, the odds are pretty slim for the Broncos to make the playoffs, but if those 4 games go your way, the odds jump to 57%. The AFC South pretty much belongs to the Texans at this point, although it feels like their remaining schedule could feature another upset or 2, which could cost them their bye week. But even winning out doesn't guarantee them the number 1 seed anymore after the loss to the Colts, because they would need the Chiefs to lose out, and they face the Raiders in week 17, so if the number 1 seed is on the line, you know that they're not losing to the Raiders. The real intrigue in the AFC South belongs to the Colts and Titans. Both teams could win out and claim that last spot, making their week 17 matchup against each other a basic play-in game for the playoffs. Moving on to the NFC, starting with the NFC East, the Cowboys have pretty much wrapped up their division at this point. It would take the Cowboys losing out and either the Redskins or Eagles winning out for that to change. With Josh Johnson as the current starter for the Redskins and Carson Wentz now dealing with a bad back, it's pretty unlikely that either of these teams run the table for the final wildcard spot either. In the NFC North, the Bears have the division locked down also. The Vikings are in an interesting scenario though. It felt like the sky was falling for them against the Seahawks, and then they fired their offensive coordinator, but they could win one of their final 3 games and still just back into the playoffs. They shouldn't take that chance and test fate because the Packers and Lions are also not so out of it yet either. If the Vikings beat the Dolphins this week, they really can kill the Packers' playoff dreams altogether, as well as the rest of the long shot NFC teams. If things get close at the end of the season, the Bears could rest their starters and get the Vikings in so that they could play them the following week. The setup in the NFC West is oddly similar to the AFC West. The Rams and the Seahawks are definitely going to the playoffs, but the Rams have to be hoping for the Saints to lose one more game in order for them to get the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. And then the Seahawks are in a similar scenario to the Chargers as the best non-division winning playoff team in their respective conference and the likely number 5 seed. The NFC South doesn't offer much excitement either. The Saints are 3 games away from the number 1 overall seed, while the Panthers and Falcons would need to win out and have a miracle scenario play out for them to land that final spot in the wild card. Let's move on and see how this wildcard weekend plays out. First up, we've got Titans at Patriots, and I actually love this matchup with the Titans going to Foxborough to play the Patriots again. I'm sure that Belichick will have his guys more prepared this time around, but if there's a team of those eligible for that 6th seed in the AFC that could go there and knock off the Patriots in Foxborough, this Titans team is the one to do it. I think that they give them a good game, but ultimately the Patriots should win this matchup and move on to the divisional round. The Chargers at Steelers is a rematch that I would gladly welcome, and with Melvin Gordon back by then, I think it's the edge that the Chargers need to win for the second time. That means Chargers at Chiefs and Patriots at Texans in the divisional round. On the NFC side of things, I think that the Bears beating the Vikings is one of the easier picks you'll ever see on Wildcard Weekend. The Cowboys have to hate that they're looking at the Seahawks in the first round after the game earlier this season, but the 2 difference makers here are going to be Amari Cooper and Earl Thomas. I actually think that the Cowboys win this rematch at home. So Cowboys at Saints and Bears at Rams would be the divisional side for the NFC. The divisional round is basically rematch weekend in this scenario, with all 4 games being rematches from earlier in the year. I had a lot of Chiefs fans in the comments calling me a hater after the last predictions video, and I promise I'm not, but the loss of Kareem Hunt is going to show up in the playoffs, if not sooner. Now, with that said, Patrick Mahomes has been incredible, and the Chargers probably own the rights to choking in the playoffs over the Chiefs claim, even though both teams have got a pretty ugly history of doing it, and I mean that with all due respect. I'm going to go with the Chiefs because Andy Reid is so good at getting his team prepared when he has a bye week. Chiefs move on to host the AFC Championship game. Moving on to Patriots at Texans. The Texans have waited a long time for a roster like this. The pass rush and the passing game are among the best in the league, and the running game has been effective enough, and Deshaun Watson is the man in big games. But more importantly, I just refuse to believe that this current Patriots team is going on the road and winning a playoff game. Now, Patriots fans, you guys can go ahead and call me a hater because I proudly am. Hating the New England Patriots is the American thing to do in 2018. We have waited for the decline of the Patriots for a decade now, and it's so close we can taste it. Texans win and go on to Kansas City to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. In the NFC, the Cowboys-Saints rematch will take place in New Orleans this time, and that's kind of a big deal. Drew Brees has historically been a god down there, and he always puts on a show for the people, but it's not going to be easy against this Cowboys defense. They were the ones that exposed the Saints and did so by taking away Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara for the most part, because those are the weapons that Drew Brees wants to throw to on almost every third down. There's a reason the Saints felt that they needed to try and sign Des Bryant and then Brandon Marshall. Neither of those worked out, and if there's going to be a reason that the Saints lose in the playoffs, it's because their offense has become just too predictable. The first game against the Cowboys would have probably been a blowout if the Cowboys offense would have just executed and not shot themselves in the foot repeatedly with penalties. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Cowboys do it again and shock the world. If the Cowboys win, they would go to the winner of the Rams-Bears game. The Bears also made some noise as an NFC contender with their dominance of the Rams offense. I was really impressed with their defense, and I felt like it was their coming out party. But the Rams are California boys now, and they're not made to go in an old school playoff environment like Chicago. Luckily for them, the NFC is going to go through stadiums that won't have to worry about weather so much. I think that Sean McVay has a little more time during the bye week to learn more than just the Bears' 11 starters' names and what they're basically good at, and that the Rams are able to get their redemption. So these would be the matchups for Championship Weekend. Leading up to the AFC Championship game, the media will be over-analyzing how the Chiefs traded up to take Patrick Mahomes over Deshaun Watson when everyone assumed that they were trading up for Watson in the moment. On the field, though, I think that the Chiefs' warts start to show up and that the Texans are going to win this game. Give me a fourth quarter Honey Badger interception to seal the Texans' victory. In the NFC, the Cowboys head to LA to take on the Rams, and in this one, the media will have that soundbite from Jerry Jones saying that he didn't think that their offense was that far off from the Rams Rams and Chiefs when they were firing on all cylinders at the beginning of the season, but that quote was from before the Amari Cooper trade. They actually are moving the ball at a similar rate now, and they have a top 5 defense in the league. This Cowboys team, I think, is doing something special right now, and they're getting hot at the right time to make a run. They could beat the Rams, I'm not gonna lie, but I probably shouldn't even have them in this game right now. I'm gonna bank on the Rams getting their offense going again and picking apart the Cowboys Tampa 2 with all their weapons. So I predict that Super Bowl 53 will be Texans versus Rams, and this is the same matchup as my other video because honestly I just really like the way these two teams are put together. Let me know in the comments below what your Super Bowl matchup would be. I'm still riding with the Rams as the Super Bowl winners here, but I'm not 100% confident about it this season because the field seems so wide open compared to years past. Regardless of who you are rooting for, hopefully we get a good matchup with maybe some fresh faces in there. That's going to do it for me. If you enjoyed this, please help me hit that goal of 500 likes, and feel free to subscribe if you're a fan of the NFL because I'm just getting the hang of this YouTube thing, and I'm going to be posting a ton of videos over the off season. Thanks again for watching, commenting, subscribing. I will see you all in the next video.